Akhenaten, pharaoh and menace of ancient Egypt's 18th dynasty, is one of these figures that history tried to forget. His reign was brief but disruptive, leaving a mark that Egypt's later rulers tried hard to bury.
In the annals of ancient Egypt, no pharaoh has been so thoroughly erased from history as Akhenaten. After his death, his successors issued a chilling decree: demolish every temple dedicated to the god Aten, chisel his name from stone inscriptions, and obliterate his face from statues. Thousands of years later, archaeologists uncovered only eerie voids, scratched out inscriptions, reliefs with faceless figures staring blankly into eternity. The name Akhenaten was all but erased from the record, as if he had never existed. Why would an empire that revered its pharaohs as gods deliberately wipe the memory of one of its own kings from existence? The restoration stela of Tutankhamun declares an intent to return Egypt to the old order, branding Akhenaten's reign a time of chaos. Yet, the surviving records paint a different picture, not of a tyrant, but of a visionary who saw the world through an utterly alien lens. He forged a new religion, worshipping a single deity, the sun god, Aten. He shattered the sacred rules of art, architecture, and royal ritual. And for this, history punished him, stripping him of his identity and branding him the cursed pharaoh. But behind this act of erasure, could there lurk a deeper fear? A fear the later pharaohs dared not confess. Was Akhenaten not merely a heretic, but a being fundamentally different, in his very flesh and blood? In the long history of ancient Egypt, only one pharaoh dared to proclaim that the world's sole divinity bore no human form, no face, and dwelled in no temple existing only as light. That was Akhenaten, who called himself the son of Aten, the offspring of the living solar disk. To him, Aten was no anthropomorphic god like Amun or Osiris, but an invisible entity, a radiant disk blazing in the sky, casting hundreds of rays, each ending in a tiny hand offering life itself. In a civilization that worshipped countless human-shaped deities, this proclamation was nothing short of theological rebellion. Akhenaten ordered the names of all other gods erased, shut down the temples of Amun, and abolished age-old rituals. He abandoned Thebes and built an entirely new city in the desert Akhenaten, the horizon of the sun, a capital designed not for mortals, but for light itself. Here, archaeologists uncovered peculiar reliefs. Gone were the traditional scenes of pharaohs vanquishing foes or offering gifts to gods. Instead, temple walls bore only the image of a solar disk radiating hundreds of rays, each tipped with a tiny hand touching the faces of Akhenaten, his queen Nefertiti, and their children. This light seemed not merely to illuminate, but to transmit an unseen energy, as if a cosmic ritual of communion were unfolding between heaven and earth. In his hymn to Aten, Akhenaten wrote, "The dawn's light is the beginning of life. When Aten shines, every human heart beats anew." These are not the words of a mere worshipper, but the testimony of one who believed he had touched the very essence of existence. Scholars today call this belief Atenism, the earliest known monotheistic religion, but for Akhenaten, it may not have been religion at all. It was a direct experience of an intelligent energy. He believed he could feel it, connect with it, perhaps even receive messages from that radiant light. Even the pharaoh's body became a symbol of this connection. Statues and reliefs from the Amarna period depict Akhenaten with an elongated head, narrow face, broad chest, and wide hips, a form utterly unlike any pharaoh before him. Modern physicians have speculated he suffered from Marfan syndrome or aromatase excess disorder, but a 2010 DNA study published in JAMA ruled out any pathological mutations. His body showed no genetic abnormalities, no evidence of disease, if not illness. Then where did this form come from? Some archaeologists argue it was a symbolic art style, while others propose a bolder theory that the energy of Aten itself reshaped the king's body, or at least, he believed himself transformed by its light. The Amarna art style of this era mirrors this belief. Human figures and sculptures became fluid, elongated, almost melting under the sun's rays. These proportions were not errors, but metaphors for a material ascension, a transformation triggered by contact with Aten's energy. Some scholars call this a biological transcendence, a state beyond the grasp of ancient medicine. And if Aten was indeed an intelligent energy, Akhenaten may have been the first human in history to claim communion with it, to Egypt's priesthood. This was heresy, but to the modern world, it poses an unanswered question: did the light of Aten seep into the king's blood? transforming him into something other if true. Akhenaten was not merely Egypt's pharaoh, but a king born of the sun. In 2010, the archaeological world was rocked when JAMA published the first ancient DNA analysis of Egypt's pharaohs. Among them, the genome of Tutankhamun, the boy king who died at 19, proved the most enigmatic, beneath the brittle wrappings of his mummy. Scientists uncovered a truth history had obscured. Tutankhamun's father was Akhenaten, and his mother, the younger lady, was identified as Akhenaten's own sister. This revelation exposed an undeniable reality. The royal bloodline of Amarna was born of incest, a practice once deemed sacred to preserve the divine purity of the royal line. But in this case, that purity left geneticists stunned. Tutankhamun's genome showed unusual duplications, displaying a level of heterozygosity far beyond natural genetic limits. In their study, Ancestry and Pathology in King Tutankhamun's Family, researchers Zahi Hawass and Yehi Agad described a series of anomalies in Tutankhamun's genes and body. He suffered from bone deformities, malformed feet, and hormonal imbalances. Yet no clear pathological cause could be identified. His genetic segments revealed bizarre recombinations, resembling sequences typically found in populations separated from Egypt by thousands of years of genetic drift. His immune system and endocrine traits were incompatible with any known DNA samples from Egypt's contemporary population. Some gene variants showed rare mutations linked to bone tissue development and extreme heat tolerance traits, unnecessary for a desert dweller but potentially useful in harsher, alien environments. This led geneticists to a haunting question. Was the Amarna bloodline truly a product of nature? By 2024, new research from Luxor and Saqqara deepened the mystery. DNA samples from contemporaneous tombs revealed variants that matched no known modern human population, but partially aligned with Tutankhamun's genome. This data suggested a chilling possibility. The Amarna royal bloodline carried an origin foreign to Egypt's native population. Mainstream archaeologists attribute this to generations of inbreeding. But the overlap between these strange variants and rare DNA sequences from distant regions has prompted fringe researchers to propose a radical theory. Could this bloodline be more than merely human? If Aten was not just a religious symbol, but an intelligent entity, did Akhenaten attempt to forge a bloodline of light within his royal lineage? Some speculate his marriage to his sister was not merely to preserve power, but a genetic ritual to maintain a chosen genome, a bloodline he believed stemmed from Aten itself. This theory grows more unsettling when we consider the physical forms of Akhenaten and Tutankhamun. Both had elongated skulls, wide hips, and narrow faces, traits inexplicable by pathology. Some anthropologists call this a non-human phenotype, so distinct it seems almost designed. If these were merely natural mutations, why do they repeat so perfectly across generations of a single lineage? Mainstream science remains cautious, insisting the data is insufficient for conclusions beyond biology. But in esoteric research circles, the concept of a solar bloodline is gaining traction. One hypothesis posits that Aten was not merely the sun god, but a cosmic energy source, and Akhenaten was the first to carry its imprint in his genes, passing it to his son, Tutankhamun. If true, the erasure of Akhenaten's name was not just political or religious, it was a genetic purge, an attempt to bury an experiment that defied human imagination. Could their bloodline be not entirely human, but a legacy of an entity from beyond our planet? Whenever the hypothesis of Akhenaten's non-human bloodline surfaces, the scientific community reacts with fierce skepticism. To them, the notion that a pharaoh carried extraterrestrial genes is pure fantasy. Archaeologists argue that all phenomena surrounding Akhenaten can be explained by cultural and biological factors, without invoking the mystical. They point out that the statues with their bizarre forms, elongated heads, wide hips, broad chests are not literal depictions, but deliberate artistic choices. The Amarna period was the only era when Egyptian artisans dared to break from rigid sculptural traditions, portraying the pharaoh as a hybrid of mortal and divine, both earthly and celestial. This was Akhenaten's way of proclaiming himself chosen by Aten not in flesh, but in symbol. Theologians also argue that Atenism was not truly monotheistic. Akhenaten never fully denied other gods. He merely elevated Aten above them, practicing a form of relative monotheism. His reforms, though shocking, remained within the bounds of human thought, not a cosmic revelation, the tale of a king chosen by light. From an academic perspective, was merely a bold step in the evolution of religious thought. Genetically, ancient biologists offer a more compelling explanation: the anomalies in Tutankhamun's DNA, or that of the KV-55 mummy believed to be Akhenaten, are simply the result of prolonged inbreeding, a common practice among Egyptian royals to maintain lineage purity. Tutankhamun's bone and hormonal deformities, they argue, are inevitable biological consequences, requiring no alien explanation. Yet this certainty opens a paradox. If everything is so easily explained, why do gaps in the evidence persist? Why does the KV-55 mummy's genome align with Tutankhamun's, yet its bone age mismatch Akhenaten's death? Why do the elongated skulls of the king and his heirs persist so vividly, with no genetic pathology to explain them, and why? In centuries of Egyptian art, is it only during Akhenaten's reign that light is depicted with hands as if it possessed consciousness, or even energy? Scientists call this the gray zone of evidence, where data is neither sufficient to conclude nor dismiss entirely. Some admit there is something off, a layer of information current data cannot yet reach. It could be mere chance. Or, though they hesitate to admit it, Akhenaten may have known something beyond the grasp of his time. And it is in this gray zone, where science pauses, that dangerous hypotheses begin to emerge. An idea gaining traction among independent researchers is that Akhenaten's Atenism was not merely a religious reform, but an ancient technological project. In this view, the god Aten was not an abstract deity, but a tangible energy source, and the Amarna dynasty sought to harness or recreate it. The first clue lies in Aten's iconography. In every relief, the light is not merely rays, each ends in a tiny hand. Speculative scholars call this intelligent light a symbol of directed, interactive energy capable of engaging with living matter. To the ancient Egyptians, Aten's light did not just illuminate, it carried creative energy, which Akhenaten believed could grant life and perhaps power to humanity. Surveys of Aten's temples at Amarna reveal something stranger. Modern archaeological engineers noted that the entire architecture was aligned precisely with the solar axis. Every column and corridor was designed to channel sunlight directly to the altar's center during the solstices, a feat requiring astronomical and mathematical precision, astonishing for the era's tools. If these were mere temples, why the precision of an energy observatory? Stone samples from Aten's temples reveal even more. According to a 2024 Amarna Project report, the central complex's materials contained high reflectivity silicates, akin to compounds used in modern optical technology. Under sunlight, these surfaces produced intense, focused flashes, resembling an optical energy amplification chamber. Why use such rare, labor-intensive materials for mere ritual? Some fringe researchers suggest Amarna functioned as an ancient solar energy station, where Akhenaten and his priests conducted mysterious rituals to commune with Aten. They may have experimented with primitive plasma technology or a light reflection system emitting electromagnetic energy that modern science is only beginning to understand. It could even be the legacy of an older civilization, rediscovered and revived by Akhenaten, who believed he was reconnecting with the sun. To the Amun priesthood, this was blasphemy. If Aten's light could generate energy, or, worse, possessed its own consciousness, the power of other gods would be rendered meaningless. Akhenaten's reign, in their eyes, was not just heretical, it threatened the cosmic order. And so, when he died, history pivoted. Aten's temples were razed, his name scraped from stone, and the city of Amarna buried beneath the sands, not just for religion, not merely for politics, perhaps because, within the light he worshipped, lay knowledge humanity was not ready to grasp. Was Aten merely a symbol of the sun, or an ancient energy technology that existed and was erased from history? More than 3,000 years after Akhenaten was erased from history, modern science is tracing his legacy not through stone or reliefs, but through the blood of the Amarna dynasty. And what it has found shakes the foundations of old assumptions. CT scans of Akhenaten and Tutankhamun reveal stark anomalies, elongated skulls, and brain capacities larger than the average for their time. These were not the result of cranial binding or ritual deformation, but innate traits. While many scholars attribute this to inbreeding, others note the degree of difference is unnaturally high. Akhenaten's skull shape matches no known Afro-Asiatic human phenotype. If this was a natural variation, it was uniquely rare. From 2020 to 2025, geneticists in Cairo and Berlin continued decoding the Amarna lineage using next-generation sequencing. The results confirmed the father-son link between Akhenaten and Tutankhamun, but uncovered a set of genetic variants absent from global anthropological data. They matched neither ancient Egyptians, nor Africans, Middle Easterners, or Europeans, a genetic fingerprint lost to history. Comparing this data to other ancient genomes revealed something stranger. A small portion of these sequences aligned with DNA from distant, unrelated regions, from the Libyan desert to the Anatolian highlands. These areas are tied to civilizations that briefly flared and vanished, as if a shared knowledge or biological legacy spread and then faded. A line in the 2010 JAMA report caught the academic world's attention. These unique kinship patterns cannot yet be fully explained by local factors. Written with scientific restraint, it opened a void for bolder theories. Could the local factors they referenced be the limits of Earth itself? If Akhenaten truly contacted an intelligent energy, perhaps it altered his biological matter or left a mark in his genes, passed to his heirs. Some propose this was the start of an artificial evolution, where humans were tuned to perceive more, understand deeper, and sense what others could not. A bloodline not stronger or purer, but fundamentally different. Mainstream archaeology sidesteps such conclusions, calling Akhenaten an unrepeatable anomaly, yet his legacy a city built on the laws of light, a religion exalting energy over gods, and a genome that defies science paints a picture far beyond his era. Whether Akhenaten was a man of the sun or not, one truth is clear: he brought knowledge humanity wasn't ready to comprehend, and that is why history erased him. But knowledge never vanishes. It hides in blood, in bones, in the genetic memory of our species. Perhaps the bloodline from the Star of Aten still flows within us, a legacy waiting to awaken. When humanity is brave enough to face its true origins,